Hi everyone, how's everyone feeling? It's the final stretch, and I'm telling you, we have an exciting lineup here this afternoon, and we are going to start it off with Joanne Charlefort from the Haldeman, Norfolk, Brantford, and Niagara Behavioral Support Ontario program, and her session is going to be about developing and sustaining transformational leadership. And what we're going to do is we are going to do questions at the end, okay? So save up your questions, and we will do them at the end. So welcome to Joanne.
Thank you, Janet. Hello, bonjour. My name is Joanne Charlefort. I'm the BPSO project manager for the Behavioral Supports Ontario, also known as BSO, for the long-term care team in HNHB, that stands for Hamilton, Niagara, Brant, and Haldimand. Today I will tell you about our experience with BPSO to develop and sustain transformational leadership. So a little bit about us. First, by show of hand, how many of you know what BSO is? So yeah, a good portion of the group. That's great. So for those of you who are not familiar with us, BSO offers consultative non-pharmacological recommendations to assist long-term care home managed care for residents who are either already living in long-term care or are transitioning to long-term care from home, and we also support them throughout their journey with long-term care. In our region, St. Joseph's Villa was identified as a human resources lead. You can see on the slide that we have 81 full-time equivalent staff. We support 86 long-term care homes in our region, and that represents over 11,000 residents. Our team works to find out why a behavior is happening, and then we coach and model successful strategies to staff members to help reduce behaviors and increase residents' quality of life. We also support and guide residents and families. It's also important to note that our region is the only one with a mobile team, while all the other BSO programs across the province are embedded models. So we're very proud to be the first service of our kind to reach the BPSO status. There's no other service like us in BPSO, and we're the first BSO in the province as well, so we were quite thrilled. Thank you. We're very happy we were happy to come to our graduation in June. So BSO has a role as a mentor and capacity builder. So as such, we feel it's important that our work and our strategies are based on current best practices. So the alignment between BSO and BPSO was obvious to us. Sorry, I'm not used to clicking and switching my notes. So on the slide, you can see our BPSO champions at work. They're presenting. So in 2022, we formed a BPSO collaborative. That's a group of staff, BSO staff, who have been involved in BPSO work since the beginning. Staff is engaged like never before. We're observing also a shift in our culture towards continuous quality improvement, where we always think, okay, what are the best practices? What best practices tell us? BSO staff are taking initiatives to participate in projects, not only for their personal growth, but for the pride in the role and for wanting to make a positive change. The staff told us that they feel heard, and as a result, they're engaged. Currently, 31% of our staff, BSO staff, took the RNAO champions, and the same number, like 30% of our staff, are actively involved in BPSO work. Our key takeaways is first to show genuine interest in people, to build trust and stronger relationship. To empower staff to identify and nurture their leadership capacities, and then to provide the education and support. And also that RNAO's leading change toolkit and knowledge to action framework works, because that's what we used. We used it to communicate a clear vision, to work more collaboratively, and to create a work environment that is built on trust, strong relationships, empowerment, and positivity. And I was sharing with Christina during this symposium that last week we had a collaborative meeting, and I formed new working groups, and for the first time I'm going to have a data analysis group. So I have 3 staff who are going to join me in understanding our data and making more sense of it, making better use of our data. And we also formed, Doris will be happy to hear, I have 3 champions who are interested in being involved with RNAO work. I said, we're asked to present all the time symposiums and knowledge exchange, and so I have 3 people who want to help with that. So I am feeling blessed that we have so many staff engaged that I have a wait list for my working groups. So next, I have a little video. Thank you so much. I want to leave you with a quote from one of our staff. Noriel Santos is one of our transitional leads. Can we go back to my quote? At one of our last meetings in the spring when we were preparing for this, I asked our champions what it meant to have the biggest impact of BPSO on our BSO team, and I loved Noriel's quote. He said, "We took a step back and we listened to staff. We collaborated and learned about their diverse needs. That's what makes this project unique, organic, and powerful." So thank you so much for your time.
Okay, next we have Hamida Bimani from York Region Public Health, and Hamida will be presenting our journey and lessons learned on implementation of best practice guidelines in an interdisciplinary and cross-sectoral environment. Let's welcome Hamida.
Thank you very much. So it's lovely to be here and to share a little bit about our experiences and learnings working in an intersectoral collaborative environment. Okay, so our journey really started initially within the public health branch. And just a little bit about our structure. I am with York Region, which has different services. It's a municipal government organization, and there's a community and health services department. And within that department, public health is one of the branches. So in about 2013, with the initiation of the Chief Nursing Officer Initiative in Public Health, we launched and created our first ever best practice guideline network. And here we had public health staff from a variety of disciplines, including nurses, come together to look at best practice guidelines and how to adapt that to our practice setting. Next, one of our divisions in the public health branch worked towards their BPSO designation. And then in 2020, we became part of the Ontario Health Team structure with South Lake OHT. And part of that, we took a big step, and our entire department signed up working with the South Lake OHT partners to work towards our collective BPSO designation. And that's going to be, we're working towards that to achieve that in spring or summer of 2024. Initially, the engagement was with our paramedics and senior services branch and public health. And over time, once we came out of the pandemic work, we have created now a departmental committee, which has representation from 4 of our branches, and we're all working towards our BPSO designation as part of the South Lake OHT. So it's been a long journey, but I think at every step we've learned unique and interesting things about ourselves. Here's a little bit, I know the slide is a little bit busy, but what I really wanted to show was how the knowledge to action framework is embedded within the work of our intersectoral collaboration. So our department, just to clarify a little bit, has health and social services. We have 2 long-term care homes. We have, as part of the work we do, we have paramedic services. We have social services as part of the Community Health Services Department, and then we also have public health. So we have, the knowledge to action framework. The first piece that we sort of bring alive is data. We have access to a lot of community data because at the municipal level we collect information, and we bring that lens and we apply some of the information that we get is really from a health equity lens. We have housing information, we have information around language, ethnicity, where our residents live. Then we have data that comes from the hospital and access to services, health services. So we bring that piece together. And then the third is as I was explaining earlier, is our department provides a variety of services. That includes homelessness support, it includes social assistance programs, paramedics services, senior services, public health. And then finally, we overlay that with the Ontario Health Team structure, where we have a connection to the different sectors in healthcare. So we have home care, we have long-term care, we have hospital care, and so that then combines and gives us a very intersectoral, a very rich, diverse view on where opportunities lie, where might be some things that we can progress together collectively. So a little bit about critical factors for success. So for us, really working from the level of our department and having our commissioner really buy in and have our chief nursing officer also really provide that reason to be why we should be engaging in this work and why we should bring the social services sector together to work with the healthcare sector to meet the needs of our community. And that is a critical, that sponsorship has been really important for our success. The other has been alignment with our key priorities and where the region wants to go and what are the needs of the residents. And then the other piece is to start small. So we really tried to look at the BPSO work and how to implement the guidelines in a very tangible way. We looked at either programs that were being redesigned or new programs. So example is our paramedic palliative care program was a new program, and the person and family-centered care best practice guideline just fit very beautifully into the design of that program. So we introduced it there. And similarly, we have a community paramedicine program that is constantly looking at how to do things better, and some of the engaging clients who use substances best practice guideline was a really good fit for that particular program. The other piece that we use is we used a co-design model with our champions. So what that means is we used feedback from champions to engage in leading best practice guideline work. We looked at, looking at gap analysis, opportunity statement work, and we also looked at subject matter experts on specific best practice guidelines. The other thing is that we looked at engaging staff who had practice experience and informal influence. And the last thing we did is we looked at the knowledge to action framework, and we modified it using internal tools that we have, such as quick win statement, opportunity statement, a data monitoring and evaluation framework. So in terms of what's on the horizon for us, I'm happy to share that we've actually created engaging clients who use substances e-learn that is being rolled out across our department, and our department is quite big. And what we did is, as the South Lake Ontario Health Team, all the partners who are part of the BPSO initiative worked together to create this education, and then we used our own internal experts who gave us feedback staff who were working in the area, and they gave us user input. And then the other piece that we've also done is we're looking at now readiness to scale up the work of BPG implementation and programs, and working to see who is ready, where's the next opportunity to leverage people's interest. We also want to look at data trending and evaluation a little bit stronger and provide a framework for that to our teams. And the last piece we want to do is now go a bit broader in terms of having a knowledge exchange event where we can recruit more champions and go more to the front line, which we weren't able to because of the pandemic. I'm going to leave you with this final slide, which looks busy, but really the themes that we've brought us together in this unique environment of health and social services sector together has been around having a really good, strong governance model and a committee structure, making sure that our management is engaged and the staff who are working with us on our BPSO committee come from a data analytics, quality improvement background, policy staff, as well as program managers, so that we can get a variety of input and engagement. I've spoken about strategy and alignment to the purpose and the strategic priorities of the organization, so I won't dwell on that. But the other piece is also communication, leveraging new ways of learning and development systems. So we've tried to really do more online asynchronous ways of education for staff so they can do it on their own time. And the last piece is around the knowledge to action framework that I also spoke to earlier, which is focusing on trying to take those tools and making them come alive with simple, easy to use methods so that we can bring our work together and move on implementing best practice guidelines. So thank you very much for listening to me today.
Okay, our next speaker is Courtney Holdsworth from the Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre, and Courtney will be presenting a nursing mentorship program at an Ontario Regional Health Centre. So welcome to Courtney.
Hello, thank you everybody for coming today. So I'm Courtney Holdsworth. I'm an RN and a manager in professional practice at RVH in Barrie, Ontario. The mentorship program is a new program I'm going to discuss with you today for our center. So what is mentorship in nursing? Well, the term mentoring, we hear it a lot, and we use it interchangeably with other similar terms, such as precepting, teaching, facilitating, etc. But the main difference there is that mentorship is truly non-evaluative and often doesn't have a distinct endpoint that the other ones do have. So in its purest definition, mentorship is going to continue for an indefinite amount of time as long as both parties are benefiting from it. The goals of mentorship often include skill development, but it's more than that. It also supports evidence-based practice implementation, and the evidence shows that when mentorship exists, a consequence is implementation of that best evidence practice. Mentorship is encourages professional growth and development and creates a succession for leadership as well. And both mentors and mentees experience increased self-confidence, decreased anxiety and stress, development of clinical knowledge and skills, and both personal and professional gratification and satisfaction as a consequence of mentorship. Perhaps most importantly, a strong mentorship program will promote a culture of cyclical mentorship that will continue for years to come. So our current state, I think, might be a different, there we go. So our current state, it just looks different. Sorry, everybody. There we go. All good. I'm pointing to, yes, got it. So we all know our human health resource challenges that we're experiencing, not only in Ontario, but worldwide, with the projection that 55% of the nursing workforce is set to retire in the next decade, and taking with that their valuable experience and knowledge with them. Coupled with an aging population of patients with increasingly higher acuity, the impact of losing the skilled nurses, especially where critical high acuity areas where that training and skill is required, is very impactful. our new hires that are coming in as new graduate nurses are not necessarily prepared for that critical thinking and level of prioritization, and have an inflated self-perception of their actual skills as they come in, and often end up resigning within the first year due to safety concerns, stressful, intimidating environments, and workloads that are with their high acuity patients. So at RVH, we have the same concern with HHR as everybody has been experiencing related, especially to nursing and our frontline nurses. We have seen, since our mentorship program began in August 2022, we have seen a decrease in our nursing turnover rate, which has been really nice to see. So a win for us, for sure. With our best practice guidelines, so at the implementation of this in August 2022, we used the Knowledge to Action framework from the Leading Change Toolkit, as well as the recommendations supported in the RNAO best practice guidelines, developing and sustaining nursing leadership, the developing and sustaining safe, effective staffing and workload practices, and interprofessional collaborative practices among nurses. So our mentorship program, in collaboration with other projects on the horizon at RVH, we plan to implement the above BPGs over the next few years, as it truly aligns with what we're currently doing at RVH. So what is our mentorship program? So it is based on the Boychuk-Duscher's transition stages model. It is informed by nursing theory as well as change theory, and takes that new nurse over from orientation through their first year at an organization or within the nursing career. It does also look at the 4 psychosocial domains of emotional, physical, sociocultural, and intellectual. So our mentorship program really does try to target those times where the new nurse is more likely to lead the organization or the career or the profession as a whole. So our mentors are trained they have a 6-hour training prior to start. They are all 3 years or more experienced nurses at our organization who have leader endorsement. From there, mentorship is introduced at orientation, which we run twice a month. All new hires who are in nursing are eligible for it. It is not mandatory, however, we do highly encourage it, and we pair them with their mentor to start their year. In month 1, month 4, and month 9 to 10, they do meet with their mentor, and that is 1 hour outside of work, whether they decide to do that virtually or in person. It is, we do encourage outside of work so that they have some dedicated time for mentorship. At month 3, 8, and 12, we do leverage those times that are highly likely that the nurse might leave the profession to have our mentee workshops. We bring the mentee cohorts all together. It is a facilitated discussion with tools to support things such as stress management, time prioritization, and management of just kind of being a nurse. Throughout the year, we also measure a few different metrics. We look at our self-efficacy of the new nurses, we look at their intent to stay in the job, and we look at their job enjoyment, as well as at the end of the program, just overall satisfaction. So we just had our first cohort finish last week. So that was our first full year. And so we're just about to look at all that data together over the year and see if it aligns with our with the evidence. So since August 2022, we have trained 107 mentors at RVH. We've paired over 100 mentees, held 7 mentor training sessions, held 6 mentee workshops, and just, as I said, had our first cohort of mentees complete. That's all.
Thank you, Courtney. Okay, our last speaker for this session is Terry Benwell from County of Elgin Long-Term Care Homes. And Terry will be speaking about leading change, engagement of teams in a multi-site organization. So welcome to Terry.
All right, we're on the home stretch. It's been a busy, busy 3 days, so thank you for taking the time to listen today. And I look forward to answering any questions when we're done. So I'm going to speak about our 3 long-term care homes in Elgin County. Of the 3 homes, 247 residents call home. Okay, so there's our 3 homes. Terrace Lodge in Elmer with 100 residents, our largest home, and it's the heart of caring and sharing. And then Elgin Manor in St. Thomas, which is 90 residents, and it is the home where the heart is. And Beaubier Villa in Dutton with 57 residents, and it's the little home with a lot of heart. So we have 3 sites. And I had the honor of being the organizational BPSO liaison and the pleasure of being able to engage and organize the leadership teams across all 3 sites. And we did achieve our BPSO designation. So just like each one of us here, each one of our homes has its own journey, which means it's developed its own culture. And that's reflected in the sayings for our homes. And so what we tried to do during our BPSO journey is understand where each home was at, start where they were at, but then also apply standard tools in order to standardize the work of BPSO and the BPGs across all 3 homes. So we started in 2019. And we continued, yes, through the pandemic, very challenging for everyone, and we did achieve our designation in June of 2022. So each site has a unique resident population, despite being in one county, and you would think that we serve a very common community. The county homes each have their own unique population, and we needed to include in our work the fact that there would be some individual uniqueness to each site and each implementation. So in order to, if you are looking at doing an implementation like this and using all of your sites at the same time, I think I've heard a couple of presentations where they've done that. One of the important things that I would encourage you to do is take a moment to understand where each home site is at, that needs analysis piece, and understand that in order to be able to then move into the work of understanding where the gaps are and what each site is going to need to come to that standardization. So a little more exciting for us. I love to share our pictures because they're so much fun. So in order to engage our staff in the work of the BPGs and BPSO designation, the common factor that we initially found was food. Pretty simple, but you can see on the slide the large cake. We had one of those for each home, and because we chose a theme, it started out as a theme for our launch, and it actually carried through the entire journey of a sports theme. And so we were able to serve what we would consider to be sports-related snacks. We had popcorn and little, I don't think we actually served hot dogs, but that was the thought when we were moving forward with our launch, and it really engaged our staff, as well as the residents. So common factor, food, lots of cake, and a bit of a theme. That's how we got started. Once we had chosen our BPGs to implement and planned our launch and gotten people on board and we were looking to train champions, again, we took the opportunity to take a step back, and it can be very overwhelming. You think about the timelines that you have 3 years, the scope of the BPGs and how many changes are going to need to be made. So, and all of the tools within the Knowledge to Action framework, but the entire program available to you. And I kind of went, wow, how am I going to decide what I'm going to use when and how I'm going to do this? And so what my next kind of encouragement is, use your coach. There's amazing staff at RNAO, and they will help you decide what tool fits best. They'll reach out, and if they have any resources to help with that standardization or practices that are working in other organizations, they'll help you with that, and they'll help you with that networking and communication. So use your coach. One of our successes that we did note after our launch was in specific to engagement. You can see on the slide that 11% of our staff were trained as champions in our year 1. We were super happy with that success, not even knowing that year 2 and year 3 were going to be so challenging with COVID. And so thank goodness we had that 11% in our first year. After that first year, we were able to then do presentation at the Knowledge Exchange, and got really great feedback on, again, using our sports theme. We knocked it out of the park. Oh, sorry, actually, I'm going to go back one. The other piece of the slide that I'd like to draw your attention to is the engaging leadership, and the slide matrix below it. It shows our structure. So with 3 homes and unique cultures and all of those kind of things, and we were choosing to do a very clinical BPG of restraints, we had to use an existing team in order to assist in the movement forward. So you can see the line in the blue on the above, and I would encourage everybody to do that as well. Look at what you have existing. Don't try to recreate and make more work. Use your existing in long-term care, it's program evaluation teams or those kind of teams. And so we use those that fed into our individual home continuous quality improvement teams, which then fed information into our leadership or steering committee. And that structure was vital in order to then get to the point where we could standardize the information. And so by utilizing those teams, it's very important because involving the frontline staff gives them knowledge. It gives them the why. Why are we making these changes? Why are we asking you to be involved in the decision making? It's because they then have the knowledge and can apply that to their practice. And finally, for standardization and engagement, use the tools. One of the most valuable tools that I've learned about is the gap analysis. And I was actually surprised. I thought across our 3 homes that when we looked at a gap analysis, we were going to find one home needing one thing and another home needing another and third home needing something different. I was surprised. When we did the gap analysis, we compared the 3 of them. We actually had quite a long implementation list that was the same across all 3 homes. And we put that into one project implementation plan. So there's our use of indicators, the implementation plan, the gap analysis information, as well as the data that we use, not only in our CQI teams, but right out at the front line. That's a frontline whiteboard with our different, I think that one might be, pretty high for falls, but I think that's cumulative. Anyway, So our outcomes and success, we know that everything went really well because I want to point out 3 pieces of data, and it was unique to each home. So at our smaller home, Beaulieu Villa, the falls went from 17% to 10%. At Terrace Lodge, our largest home, restraints, this one's a shocker, we went from 40% to 0.9%. And Elgin Manor, I didn't put this on the slide, but Elgin Manor, our in the middle, actually has had 0 restraints for about 8 months now. So very happy with that. And at Elgin Manor, our pressure injuries went from 8.1% to 2.4%. And we are sustaining that. So really great outcomes. So that was as of June 2022, and since then we've been working on person and family-centered care. Not sure if anybody had the opportunity to see our board, but we've revamped care plans, and but we also, the last piece of information that I'm going to leave you with, because I have less than a minute, is that the sustainability. Don't forget to loop back. I forget which team I was in with yesterday, I think it was Trillium, where they said about measuring the data, measure what you treasure, and I'm going to take that back with me, so thanks to whoever shared it. But we've been doing that all the way along in terms of our sustainability, and we've had to go back, and we've had to redo and re-educate on some of the work, and that just keeps our teams engaged. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. So we have about 2 minutes for questions. So does anyone have any questions for anyone from our panel? Sabrina.
It's for RVA. Can everyone hear me?
Okay, this question's for RVA.
RVH. Sorry.
RVH.
In terms of the mentorship, I was really intrigued by the mentorship program because, you nurses, if they're mentored, they'll stay longer in the organizations. I loved your structure, and I had 2 kind of questions. Number 1, was the meeting that they had, like the hour meeting outside of work, was that paid work time? Yeah. So.
Hi. Yes, so all of our mentorship activities that we had outlined within the year-long are compensated. So we compensate for mentor training, we compensate for the mentee workshops, and we compensate for those hour meetings. They are encouraged to be connecting beyond that, obviously, not just 3 times in a year, just kind of quick touch bases or at work. But yes, we compensate at straight time.
Great, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And my secondary question was, so kind of the mentorship happened, like you had workshops and then you had like the outside of work. Was there any clinical supervision that was built into their actual jobs?
Yeah, so this is an extension of our normal orientation or buddied shifts. So it extends beyond that. So all of those pieces still are in there. We have a 5-day orientation for all new staff at RVH, and then there might be some unit specific or critical care, and then buddied shifts depending on your manager's discretion, depending on your experience and how you're feeling or where you're going. So this extends beyond that. We additionally have the roles of the clinical scholars. We have them that supplement this work as well at the bedside, and they're a team that work with me to support the mentorship program as well as being there in the clinical space to do just-in-time support of the clinical skill. The mentorship is more of I think of building a bubble around that new hire. We have our nurse educators who can do continued competency and orientation and checking in, our clinical scholars who are there at that bedside with them, and as well as their mentor who's there for that psychosocial support and just something like, I don't know how to put in a request for time off. I don't know what I'm doing. Like those pieces, that you have that go-to person, and everybody at the organization will ideally have that person to go to. Thanks.
I'm really looking forward to what the longitudinal data to see like
Me too.
how many are retained over time.
I will say anecdotally, I know some that have kind of, there's been attrition from the program for different reasons. They haven't, fully committed, have left the organization. And that, as I said, we just had our first cohort go through completely and they retained, which was really nice and great feedback from them qualitatively so far. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. So we are a wrap for this session. So we have a 10-minute break, and then we're going to block 9 from 3 to 3:30. And then we are going to wrap up our day 3:30 with closing plenary remarks here in this room. So we've got 10 minutes, and then you're going to your next session. Thanks, everyone.